Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. So in today's video we are talking sewing facts, tips, hacks, whatever you want to call it, that I wish I knew when I first started sewing. When I look back at how much I didn't know in the beginning and how much it held me back, you guys resonated with that in the last video, so we're doing more of it this time. Really want to help you speed up your journey through sewing so you can make garments that you're absolutely proud of, like this top that I am very proud of. So today's video is sponsored by Better Not Younger, but before we get into that brilliant hair care brand, let's have a chat about some of these tips, shall we? So you've decided you want to sew and you want to make clothes and you want to make them like yesterday. Well, the first tip, hack, whatever that I want to share with you that I wish I really understood in the beginning was to employ mindful sewing. So sewing is one of those hobbies that can be fantastic for mental health. It can be fantastic for just taking you out of yourself, taking you away from your worries, from your life's stresses and strains, and just enables you to be in the moment, to concentrate on what you're doing, and takes you through a journey and you get an outcome at the end. All too often, many of us, myself included, went into sewing in the beginning in order to do as much as we can, as quickly as we can. I know for myself, I got so frustrated when I would start a project and I didn't know how to do something. Rather than look it up, learn it, practice it, I would just dive in and ruin the whole garment. This skirt that you can see on screen now is a skirt that I made, and mostly I was really proud of it. But what you can't see in that picture is I completely and utterly messed up the zip in the back. I made the zip so it was misjointed like that. I didn't have the experience, techniques to actually complete it, and if I'd taken my time to do it properly, then it would have been a skirt that was almost perfect. The next thing I wish I knew when I started was that I should take pride in every single achievement, whether that's finding my own style, whether that's getting a good fit on my garments, whether it's learning a new technique, whatever it is, we should be really proud. Even be proud of the mistakes as well, because mistakes take us on to the next stage just as much as successes do. In fact, I would argue more than successes do. The problem is when we are speeding through our garments, we're not being mindful, we're not really thinking about what we're doing. We just got our eyes on the end goal. Maybe we've got an event that we want to go to and we want a dress that we're going to wear to it. It can be really beneficial to be reflective on your journey as you go through it, because that is going to help you see how far you've come, especially in those times of frustration, when you feel like giving up, when you throw the fabric across the room because you've tried to put the zip in 3 times. When you throw it across the room, maybe you've tried to put your neckband in 8 times and it's just not working and the fabric won't take it anymore, and screw it over, you do it. That's my reenactment. At those times, you might feel like giving up sewing altogether, but actually, if you take time, and I would say this would be even beneficial to do on like maybe a monthly basis, where you reflect on what you've learned and you see what you want to learn next, and actually you set yourself some goals in order to move forward, so then each month you can reflect on those goals and how far you came towards achieving them. I think that could be a really beneficial thing to do. Hands up, I don't do that, but I don't sew enough at the moment to warrant doing that. Certainly if I was at the beginning of my journey, knowing what I know now, I would absolutely do that. So I touched on this just now, but the next thing that I really wish that I had taken on board in the beginning was that there will be times of frustration, to expect those times of frustration, but to not let it define myself, my abilities, my sewing journey, or where I'm going to end up. As I mentioned just now, those moments of frustration are going to move you forward, because you're not going to make those same mistakes again. I'll never forget this for as long as I live. When I was fairly new into my sewing journey, I started making a dress, and I've spoken about this before. It was the Rue dress by Colette, or Seamwork. I tried to make it, and could I get it to fit me? This was at the point where I just started to do toiles. It was so far off fitting me very well, especially around the bust area, that I was getting so frustrated. I must have tried to redraft that bust area like 6 times, and I was just like, maybe I'm not cut out for this. This was also when I was just starting to adapt patterns as well, and I didn't really understand what I was doing, and I was like, maybe this isn't for me. And that was the wrong attitude to take. And actually at that point I considered very seriously giving up sewing, thinking it's not for me. I haven't got the skills, the experience, the talent to do this. Wow, fast forward a few weeks and they issue a public apology stating that the garment was really badly designed. So it wasn't even my fault, but I had taken it on board that it was my lack of experience, my lack of knowledge that was causing this problem, and that very easily could have ruined my love of sewing right there and then. When you are in the throes of frustration, and it's gonna happen, every single person who's ever sewed has been frustrated. Go away from your project until you calm down, until you're de-stressed, even if it takes days or weeks, and then come back and start with fresh eyes and understand where you went wrong and how you can change that and move forward. That in itself will speed up your sewing capabilities much, much faster. So before we move on to the next tip, I just want to take a moment to talk about our sponsor, Better Not Younger. So Better Not Younger are the first brand to really focus on aging hair care for women. Their ethos is that they want to empower us to look better, not younger. This is a breath of fresh air. Can I just say that? I think it is so refreshing to see a product that is not marketing at 15-year-olds, even though they want 50-year-olds to buy their products. So how do they do this, you might ask? Well, they really target hair care problems that people have as they're hitting the menopause, as they're getting into older age. I'm so excited to share these hair care products with you, because although historically, growing up in my younger years, I'm someone who had very healthy hair. But in the last couple of years, I would say the last 2 years, that has changed significantly for me. My hair has become so wiry. About 6 months ago, I started taking collagen supplements that helped a bit. But this product, I was amazed with it. I was just amazed. I wasn't expecting it to be as good as it is. When the products first arrived, they arrived in this packaging. How sexy is that packaging? I am loving it. So they sent me some volumizing shampoo and volumizing conditioner, although they have lots of different options on their website. The thing that really stood out to me after using it for the first time was how much more under control my hair was. My hair goes, you've seen in many videos what my hair's like, and it just was all over the place. But not after this. Even a few days after I'd washed it, when it started to get dirty, it still felt very smooth and silky. I've got about 3 or 4 shampoos in the bathroom, but I've only been using this one since these arrived a few weeks ago. I would like to try some of their other products as well. So if you would be interested in trying it, especially if you have problems with your hair that have changed as you've got older, then check out my description box where there will be a discount code for you. Thanks to Better Not Younger for working with me. Let's get on to the next tip. So for this next one, I've just got to stand up because my bottom is killing me right now. I've got a damaged coccyx. The next piece of advice, the next, not euphoria moment, what am I thinking of? You know what I mean. That moment of enlightenment that I wish I had had when I first started sewing was not to jump in with prized fabric and use 12 fabric, cheap fabric, bed sheets even, that mean you can just practice without fear of ruining anything. When we buy fabrics, we're so excited, aren't we? We've got that dopamine rushing through us. The fabric's absolutely beautiful. It's the most divine thing we've ever seen in our lives, and we cannot wait to start sewing with it. And that is the biggest problem beginners have. Well, maybe not the biggest problem they have, but it's one that impacts them a lot. I remember when I was first sewing, I was gifted some jersey fabric from Liberty of all places. It was absolutely gorgeous, very thick. So I picked this pattern, which was a really bad pattern for the fabric. It was a jersey dress, but it had like a bodice, like a bra section where it met there, and then the sewing lines go under there. I might have saved that Liberty fabric. In the end, all I had left of it was scraps that I could use for trims and stuff, which was a real shame because it was very expensive fabric. Now my knees are killing me. Oh. So the next piece of wisdom, maybe we'll call this video wisdom. 10 pieces of wisdom that you wish you knew. So the next one is a huge one, and that is to not buy tools because you think they might come in handy one day, or to kit your sewing room out with, or for any other reason than you need them right now. Because the chances are, if you're buying just for maybe one day, chances are you are never ever going to use that, and it's going to be a complete waste of your time, your real estate in your sewing room, environmental wastage at the end of the day, because the more stuff we buy, the more they produce. So I have talked at length on this channel about my sewing tools, and I do so because you guys really respond well to those videos. I think we do have this thing where we love to buy stuff, especially for sewing, and those videos can give us some ideas, but I never ever produce those videos with the idea that I want you to buy stuff. I want to empower you to make more informed choices. So when I produce these videos, I'm not saying you should buy these things or you shouldn't buy these things. I'm just saying to think a bit more deeply about the benefits that you will get from having these things. I really believe the amount of tools that we need is a lot less than we think it is, and we can get by with very, very little. This next tip is a huge one. And it's one that I wish I had the foresight to see in the beginning, because my whole sewing journey would look completely different now if I had. And that is, I wish I'd learnt to draft my own patterns from the beginning, because let's face it, I've had a lot of trouble with patterns, and you will too. Can't just get a pattern, make it up and it fits me out of the packet. Being plus size, there's all sorts of adjustments I've had to do, and I've kind of learnt to do that back to front. If I had learnt to draft my own patterns in the beginning, then I would be in a position where I could make those adaptations. I would know what I was doing. You have to really understand the construction of a garment in order to be able to make adaptations, because you might adapt one area and it affects another area. So by having that knowledge of how to actually draw my own patterns from scratch, that would have made my journey a lot smoother. And actually, more than that, if you know how to draft your own patterns, You can just think to yourself, I want to make X, Y, or Z, and then draft it based on the blocks that you've already got. It's going to be a much quicker process than finding a pattern, paying for it, because at 20 quid, at £20 or $25 per pattern, it gets really expensive. Another benefit of your own drafting skills. But you do that and then you download it and you put the pattern together, or you trace it, and then you have to work out your sizing, and then you have to do a 12 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 like I do, and then you make it, and then you might not even like it in the end. But if you have your own patterns that you have drafted yourself, you know they're going to fit you. You don't need to think about sizing, because you know they fit you. They are to your measurements, and they're going to fit you because you've made things from that block in the past. I could talk about this all day, but I won't. Just suffice to say, I wish I had those skills from very early on, because even now, 10 years in, I don't have those skills, and it is something that I want to focus on. Maybe next year, once I'm settled, I will do some focused work on learning to draft my own patterns. There's lots of YouTube videos out there that will help you to do that. So the next piece of wisdom, advice, tip, hack is don't tell people that you sew. This is another invaluable piece of advice that you are really, really going to benefit from, because once we know how to sew and we start telling people, because we're proud of ourselves, people are selfish and they think, oh, they can sew, why can they make me some clothes? And then they'll say to you,
oh, I've got a party that I'm going to in 6 hours. I need a ball gown. If I give you £20, will you do it for me? Will you make it? But I need it at least an hour before I leave.
That's an exaggeration. That's a wild exaggeration. But you get the point. When I used to go into an office every day, I would tell them that I sew. I talked a lot about it. Got requests. My manager would ask me. She did go through a period of asking me to make her a dress. And I said, no, I don't make clothes for other people. And she kept on and on and on. Oh, go on, make me a dress, make me... This went on for a while. And in the end, I turned around to her and I said, okay, but it's going to cost you at least £150. Never heard another word out of her. So that's what you've got to do. If I was going through my sewing journey again, I would not be telling anyone that I sew. It would be my own little dirty secret. If they do, and they don't shut up about it, they keep on about it, they want you to do stuff, because people do not value your skills. They will not want to pay you what it costs plus your labour to do a top or a trousers or whatever it is, because they go to the shops and they buy a top for £10 or they buy a dress for £40, and that is the that's how much they think it costs you to make. It's funny, isn't it? Because those people who, when you tell, they say,
oh, you're a genius. I could never sew my own clothes. That must be so difficult.
And they give you all these false compliments about how wonderful you are because you can sew clothes. It's like you deserve a Nobel Peace Prize. It's those same people who, when Christmas comes round and you've taken the love and the care and the time to make a handmade gift that is really special in your eyes for them because you put your love into it, and they turn their nose up at it and send it off to the charity shop. So it's a really, really weird dynamic that goes on there. If you're loving these tips and you love the advice that I'm giving to you, which I know a lot of you do because I hear it in the feedback, in the comments, then do leave a comment and let me know. Tell me what you find helpful and tell others as well so we can all learn from each other. Subscribe to this channel for more videos like it. Let's get on to the next tip. This tip is going to save you thousands of dollars or pounds or whatever your unit of currency is, and that is to not develop the sister habit of buying, collecting and hoarding fabric. It starts off really, really innocently, doesn't it? We start browsing online, or we pop into a fabric store. We've only been sewing. We might not have even sewn our first garment yet. Oh, that fabric's so pretty. That's so beautiful. That's high quality. That's a great price. If I don't buy these fabrics right now, I am gonna never have them ever again, and I'm never going to be able to sew anything I love, and my life is going to come to an end as I know it. I must have this fabric right now. So we buy the fabric and we take it home. Maybe we wash it, maybe we don't. We put it in our stash. We say, right, that's the next project I'm going to sew. And then guess what? Before we've had the time to start sewing with that next fabric, we found some other fabric we like. Rinse and repeat, and before we know it, we've got a huge pile of fabric. I was so happy when I eventually got rid of my fabric, because it weighed me down. Every time I saw it, and that's partly my own fault for having it on display, but every time I saw it, I felt guilty because there was a lot of money. When I was doing it, I was justifying it to myself because I have chronic illness. I was working at that time. I thought, well, I don't go out drinking, I don't smoke, I don't have any other vices. Sewing is my only vice, if you want to call it that. So I told myself I might have to give up work at some point, so it's better if I've got a stash of fabric to sew with now. But had I just kept that money in my bank account, I would still have had money to buy fabric when I left my job. So I don't know where my thinking was at there, but I think I was just, my brain just wanted to justify the purchasing of the fabric. In the end, I stopped buying cheap fabrics. I moved on to higher quality organic fabrics, ones that were sustainable, and they were more expensive, so I could buy less of them, or I had to buy less of them. So over time I started owning less, and I felt much better. And then when I decluttered all the fabrics that I didn't like, because that's the other thing, when you buy fabrics and you're in love with them, by the time it comes round to being able to use the fabric, you've fallen out of love with it and it's not to your taste anymore, and so you don't sew with it and it becomes just a money pit. I would much rather keep that money in my bank account, and then when I want to do a project, buy some fabric for that project. I probably have about 15 fabrics to my name at the moment. They're all packed away, but I do have them, and I will work through those before I purchase more. My next tip, piece of wisdom that I wish I knew, well, I probably did, but it wasn't my personality, and that was to have fun with it. Sewing should be fun. Sewing shouldn't be stressful. It shouldn't be something that we don't look forward to. It shouldn't be a chore. It should be fun. It's our hobby. It's what we're doing for pleasure, and we do need to remember that, especially in times of stress or when the garment is not going right. Live, laugh, love, they say, and I think that is a great philosophy for sewing and moving through our journey. If you want to take a humorous look at some sewing myths I talked about a while back, check this video out because it's really funny. It got double the views of my other videos at that time. I was having fun with it. I will catch you in the very next one, and thank you to Better Not Younger for sponsoring this video. Check out the link down below.